How do you recognize racism in music?
When they use appropriate language in the lyrics.
I think if any group or human feels that they're offended by lyrics or what the message of the lyrics means, it could be perceived as racism. If specific groups or people of a certain descent feel insulted, that could certainly qualify for racism in music.
All right, well, when you think about music, you think about the cultures that it's coming from, and you think about people expressing themselves. So if there's cultures and different races that have experienced racism, they're going to want to express themselves in the form of music. And I think you could see that across all different types of genres of music. The first that came to my mind was R&B, rap music, because that kind of came from, was born through people trying to express themselves that have experienced racism their whole life. Then I started thinking about other music back in the 60s, where other artists were trying to express themselves, such as the Beatles. And even in the 80s, Michael Jackson and his whole gang as well came around.
They use inappropriate words to describe people's racism in music, and they think it's okay because they're rapping it or they're singing it and they're using inappropriate words to describe the color of our skin. Even though, you know, it might sink in the back of kids' minds and they might start singing along to the music even though it's not appropriate. So that can be an example of racism in music.
I think racism in music can have a couple forms. I think that you can have lyrics that are racist, that are against a certain ethnic group. And I think you can have lyrics that are anti-racist, that are against racism in general.
Well, I think to recognize racism in music, you just need to listen to it carefully and look for stereotypes in there or different beliefs that kind of show mostly stereotypes. I mean, I'm hoping you're not listening to music that's really overtly racist. I think it's usually a little more implicit, a little bit covered.
Okay, I know protest songs, and I think one that comes to mind is actually more of a song about Martin Luther King Jr., who U2 sings a song about him, and what his belief system is, more of an inspirational, honoring him as a man. So not about racism, but about that fight against it.
I believe the Michael Jackson song that we came together, you guys were probably back in first grade or kindergarten, but all the staff came on board and sang, "We are the world, we are the children." And that was not just, to me, you know, everybody can interpret their music differently, but when you talk about bringing everybody together and remind you that we're all the same, or even Michael Jackson's Black and White video, where different faces went to different faces, if you've seen that in the 90s, or Imagine There's No Countries, maybe It Isn't Hard to Do, just kind of blurring the lines between countries and people, and that understanding that we're all one race. You know, there's different races, that we're one people. So those are some songs that come to mind right off the bat.
I wouldn't say that I know any songs that are racist. I can think of an example of a song that's anti-racist, and I would say it's Bob Marley's Get Up, Stand Up.
Well, I do like to listen to a lot of blues music and jazz music, and a lot of the roots of blues and jazz is really anti-racism, like Billie Holiday's song Strange Fruit was basically a protest against the hanging of African Americans in the South, and it's a very moving, touching song. I can't think of offhand any overtly racist music, but I know it's out there.